Hello and welcome to Creating Canon with your hosts AJ Hamilton and Nonsense Cursing Planet.
Yeah, Nonsense Cursing Planet.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
You old fart.
You fart knocker.
You fart king.
For a movie that liked its cursing, it also used curse a lot in place of curse words. It's very, very odd. Yeah. Very weird.
It was pretty amazing. We should actually name the movie and name me before we even talk about it.
Which one shall we do first? I suppose it shall be And Nicholas C. Pappas.
Yay!
Yay! An audience of one.
Yeah.
And the movie that we watched this week, this time,
we are in Creating Canon Quarantine Edition, Episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched 1992's Badlanders, also known as Prison Planet.
Which one do you like better?
You know, Prison Planet feels like the better name for the movie after having watched the movie. But it also feels like generic, terrible title of a movie.
Sure.
And
I mean, both of them do.
Badlanders is the kind of title where I hear it and I start laughing and I go, yeah, I'm in.
The Badlanders.
I don't know what it is, but I'm in.
That is why you chose this one, isn't it?
This movie?
Yes.
Well, I mean, eventually we have to watch every movie. So, you know, it's just a matter of time.
Of course. It really is. I mean,
yeah.
I'm actually glad you put us through this one this week, because I just needed some rest time. I needed some sleep.
I have a feeling that you and I had two different experiences watching this movie.
I think we did. I think we might have.
Oh, my.
Nicholas, please tell us what this movie was all about.
All right. Here,
in your patented rundown.
Yeah. Did you see Mad Max? Well, so did the people who made Badlanders. And then they remade it from a pixelated fragment of a bad memory. Here it is. Badlanders, a.k.a. Prison Planet.
Ooh, this is me clapping for you.
Yeah, I wasn't clapping for myself.
No, that's as it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be. One person should be clapping for you. All right. Man, this movie
was awesome.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, to each their own, right? I think you can kind of tell what my opinion of this movie was. Yes, it is a cross between Mad Max and American Gladiators.
Yeah, the tagline is Mad Max meets American Gladiators in the ultimate road war.
But it was kind of more like Mad Max mixed with, like, the original Battlestar Galactica or Doctor Who or something like that. Especially because it starts in a weird space prison type of place. And
well,
oh my
before
God.
it even starts there,
Oh my God.
there's two major things that you're missing that were pretty amazing. Number one is the fact that, I don't know about you, but when the MGM Lion appeared, I was like, what? This movie was released by a studio? And not a small studio? From that point on, I was like, I don't know what's happening.
Someone had faith in this movie?
Yeah.
And then there were 2 minutes and 40 seconds of credits.
Yes, and in those credits, so in quarantine, I keep saying quarantine. It's not technically quarantine. It's the shelter-in-place thing.
Sure, self-quarantining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in sheltering in place, I've spent a lot of time watching old Steven Seagal movies. I don't know why.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I know why, because they're great. But I've started with his first movie, Above the Law, and I'm watching chronologically. And I'll probably get through like 6 or 7 before I give up.
Yep.
But the music in this movie is like the music in a Seagal flick from the same time period.
Sure.
Which is that, like, almost pseudo John Carpenter-esque, but with just a little bit more of like piano than synth, or like guitar than synth.
Okay.
But it's also still really simple. And then we get to, you always know a movie's good when
there's reading,
when there's an opening crawl.
Yeah.
A la Star Wars, but it's the kind of opening crawl that gives you all, and I mean all, of the movie's background.
And all of the information that they don't feel like they want to exposit, and yet they still do.
Oh, yes. Which we both separately took pictures of the opening crawl.
Of course we did.
Not realizing that the other one was doing that because, we're awesome.
Also, speaking of Star Wars, because all three original Star Wars had come out by that time.
Yes.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the 10th word in the crawl is Anakin.
Yep.
It is the name of a planet, but it's still Anakin.
And then also there is a infamous Japanese anime that is called Akira,
which came out 4 years before this.
And one of the characters' names in this movie is
Akira. Although we don't ever see Akira.
No. In fact, we should read the opening crawl. Okay.
Oh my god, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you read it. You're the voiceover guy.
Okay, here we go. Sometime in the future, on a distant world called Anakin, rebel warriors have risen against their government. Once a peaceful planet ruled by a wise king named Himshaw, Anakin has now... It's underlined, so I have to say it like that.
Yes, but also the name Himshaw.
Himshaw. Anakin has now become a land of despair. Under the ruthless reign of Himshaw's younger brother, Akira, a bloodthirsty dictator who has usurped the throne after Himshaw's mysterious disappearance. The rebels believe that Himshaw has been exiled to Prison Planet, a.k.a. Badlanders.
I gotta be honest, one of the things that cracked me up about this is there was a voiceover with the words were being read to us.
Yeah, wasn't half bad
on the screen.
Wasn't half bad.
Well, but the thing that was funny is it was like, it started off with like, sometime in the future, on a distant world called Anakin. And by the time it was over, it was like, the rebels believe that Himshaw has been exiled from his planet.
Because it was going too fast.
Yeah, it was almost as if it was going too fast up the screen, and the person reading it was like, I gotta catch up.
Well, and the stupid thing about that is it didn't have to be a scroll. It fit on one screen.
Yes. Well, yes. But how could they rip off Star Wars if it wasn't a scroll?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness. So this movie opens
it's perfect.
In media res, and it looks as if Asylum went back in time and produced their greatest movie ever. At least this beginning part, because oddly, just the beginning part feels like Asylum. And then when they get down onto the planet, it feels so much different.
It's because it has that one shot of, like, the obviously horribly CGI'd building in the middle of a desert.
That was forced perspective. I'm pretty sure that was just
that could be.
Like, it's this toy model of a building right behind some sand out in the desert, and then they put the camera really close up.
Yeah, because that actually, now that you mention that, that's probably what that was.
Well, and they do that a lot. There's a lot of miniature work in this. But...
Well, I did notice the other miniature work, but this one I just was just appalled and taken back because you're not used to the first shot of the movie being that.
No, you're not.
After that, like, I was still dealing with the opening crawl. At that point,
it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, there's a lot of backstory there.
Yeah.
So we are immediately introduced to this guard walking down what looks like, how would you describe this hallway?
Like a rented out office building.
It looks like what I imagine the inside, like WeWork, right? Like, was that the name of that? Like, that's what it feels like.
So what is WeWork? WeWork is an American commercial real estate company that provides flexible shared workspaces for technology startups and services for other enterprises. This isn't a commercial for WeWork. We just wanted to explain what WeWork is. And if WeWork would like to sponsor us, I mean, hit us up at creatingcanon@gmail.com. But whatever. On with the show.
One of those things, and the dude's just sort of checking doors, and he opens up this door, and there's like a half-naked woman laying in this bed whose name is Sheba. And Sheba is wearing a leather bustier and the highest waisted underwear I've ever seen in my entire life, where it like goes all the way up to her belly button, but the entire side panel is cut out, so it makes her legs look like they're 15 feet long, but it makes her torso look like it's about 1.5 feet.
Yep.
And she's just basically like, "Oh, are you Captain whatever?" And the guard is like, "Yes, I am." And she smacks him on the back of the head. He goes down. She gets another guy in who is like one of her compatriots, whose name is Blaine, played by a man named James Phillips. Blaine will be the lead of our movie.
Oh, God.
We find
Why?
out. And they're in there, and it seems like what they're trying to do is knock out a communication system on purpose.
I guess.
So that way Blaine can be arrested and sent to the prison planet.
Yeah.
We don't know all of this part. We just know that they're there on purpose and that he's trying to get arrested.
Yeah, and they meet up, like you're saying, at the... it looks like a communication piece, but they're also dismantling it as if it is a bomb.
Well, that dismantling process was so amazing because he had needle nose pliers to pull out a wire, and I was thinking to myself, why isn't he either just cutting the wire with wire snippers,
snipping it,
or why is he just not yanking out the wire with his fingers?
Yeah, if it's communication, then it doesn't matter. I thought that we were supposed to think that, oh my God, if he pulls the wrong one, it's gonna explode.
But it was connected to a phone, and
I
we
know.
saw that 2 seconds earlier.
Also, at that point, the guards bust in, and he raises the phone bank
thing
or whatever above his head. And I don't know what his intention was, to beat one of them with it or to smash it.
I don't know either. At this point, we are 6 minutes into the movie, and I know that because I made a note that said, we're 6 minutes in, and I'm giving up. I can't handle this. This is terrible. If this is going to be the whole movie, we are in trouble.
And surprisingly, it's not the whole movie. It honestly feels like two people shot this movie. The first 15 minutes were by someone, and then the rest of the movie was by someone else.
Yes. Well, because what ends up happening is Blaine is arrested, and then he is questioned by, like, the great computer.
Yeah, it felt like a scene from 1984, but really poorly done.
Yeah. Where Blaine is getting electrocuted, and when he's getting electrocuted for answering wrong, it is hysterical.
He's great an actor of one.
My God. You're a great talker, too.
Yeah, right? He
He
broke my brain.
He broke your brain. When he was reacting to that thing, I was just in hysterics. And then it immediately cuts to Blaine being held up by chains against the wall.
Naturally.
And this woman comes in, and did you write down any of her lines? Because she was...
No, I didn't, because it felt as if it was written by a 14-year-old and delivered by a 15-year-old.
Very true. I'm going to throw out an alternate theory.
Okay, go.
It was written by somebody who doesn't speak English as a first language.
You know what?
Put the dialogue through a translator.
Okay.
Because the stuff she was saying was incredible. She actually has a line that goes, "You haven't been cooperating with us. That isn't very good." Then she hits him. And I was laughing so hard. And it was weird because that point I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then this other guard hops in as she's like beating Blaine to death.
Right.
We find out her name is Vrag. Vrag. And we find out because the other guard calls her out by name. And what happens is the other guard comes in as she's beating him and goes, "Vrag, what are you doing? We're just supposed to feed him." And she goes, "I want the promotion." And then she gets all grumpy and walks out of the room. And I, at that point, checked what time it was, and we were 10 minutes into the movie. And at that point, I thought to myself, I was wrong. I am so on board with this movie.
Oh, we do have to mention that when Blaine is being interrogated, They are asking him, who is your leader?
Yes.
And it's Gazarian. And do you want to know why he says Gazarian? Because the director is named Armand Gazarian.
That's also the writer of the screenplay.
The same man.
And he stares story by credit.
Yep.
Gazarian with a man named James I. Nicholson. So that's hysterical. I didn't notice that.
Oh, yes. Because of some of the lines, I had to put on closed captioning way early because I wasn't getting half of it. And I'm glad I did because there are some priceless lines in this.
Oh, this movie is like one of the most quotable movies it's so good. It is so good.
And before we get away from Armand Gazarian, he actually has a place called Armand Gazarian Productions in North Hollywood, near where I live.
Amazing. Well, you know what he mostly does now?
Is cinematography.
Yes, specifically for workout videos.
Interesting.
Yes, he had like 10 workout videos over the course of the last 2 years.
And he was also the cinematographer, I believe, of the Drew Carey green screen show, and he worked on Son of the Beach, the Howard Stern show.
No.
How funny is that? Yes, yeah. It's on his wonderful...
IMDb page?
No, his ArmandGazarian.com.
Oh, my God.
Not under construction. Sorry, buddy.
Well... When you have such an accomplished list of feats,
yes, of course,
you want to have all of those up there.
Naturally.
I'm not at that place. I have not made Prison Planet, aka Badlanders.
So let's jump back in.
Yeah. Oh, please,
to the story.
What's so terrible about the first 17 minutes of the movie is that he's got the whole beat where he's being electrocuted and 1980 Ford question.
Sure.
Then Vrag comes in and questions him.
Naturally.
And then he goes to
this was my favorite part, actually.
To
the tribunal or whatever the hell it is.
The man who questions him at the tribunal is the human equivalent of Hedonism Bot from Futurama.
Exactly, yes.
Oh, yes, you know.
Jumbe, the chocolate icing.
And he has the Greek-looking...
The Greek horns?
The leaves or whatever.
Yes,
yeah.
It's literally gold leaves.
And he's wearing a toga of some sort.
Yes, and he's in full makeup.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And he has this line, "Why are you doing what you're doing?" He says this to Blaine. And Blaine goes, "I'm doing it for freedom."
For freedom.
And the human equivalent of Hedonism Bot goes, "Oh, don't be a gashead. You have freedom to work, freedom to breathe, and freedom to... What's the name of your leader?" Honestly, AJ, this was incredible.
Also, did we talk about the line, "banish you to some dog-ass planet"?
It comes right in that moment.
Yes, I think so.
Where at that point, Hedonism Bot,
right,
or Hedonism Human, I guess.
Sure.
Because, okay, well, the jury will decide your crime. Which, I was like, no, the juries don't decide which crime you committed.
No.
What juries do is they listen, and then they decide whether you're guilty, and then your punishment.
And yet...
The crime was very clear.
Yeah, obviously. And yet the jury is some sort of odd stone... statues on the side. Also, this judgment is taking place in a 10 by 10 room. It's the tiniest... once they get down on the planet, it's actually pretty cool, but they had the hardest time thinking about what the future would look like in a semi-advanced society.
Well, I'm assuming what happened is they literally had just one 10 by 10 room to shoot in.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And they had to keep recreating what that 10 by 10 room was, because when he's tied up in the cell... Yeah. When Vrag comes and beats him, it's very clear that room has false walls.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what just kept happening.
Yeah, right.
At this point, we're about 15 to 17 minutes into the movie, and that's when the jury is like, "You are found guilty, and you must go to Prison Planet."
Yeah, and that's when Hedonism Bot says, "We're going to banish you to some dog-ass planet."
Oh,
dog-ass planet.
Dog-ass planet.
Can you imagine being so restricted as to say exactly not what you think would be said. This is gold.
This was gold.
Oh, my friend. This is where we diverge.
Gold.
This is where we diverge, I think.
Oh, my God. Because I laughed so many times during this movie. When I heard Dog-Ass Planet, I was, like, in tears laughing.
So they say, we're going to banish you, and then immediately, with less fanfare than Gore had,
Yes.
getting him from one planet to the next, he just appears on the top of some weird planet, on the top of a mountain in the desert, and that starts Prison Planet.
Yes.
Or the Badlanders, or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yes, well, yeah. And this is when we kick into the voiceover. There is no voiceover except for two parts where Blaine all of a sudden is like, and now I'm on Prison Planet, where my plan worked. I was trying to get here the whole time so I can track down
Himshaw.
Himshaw, that's it. Himshaw, our former leader. And, like, it's just this incredible, terrible, and amazing voiceover.
Listen, I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but they do the exact same thing. Kurt Russell has two odd points
Sure.
of voiceover, and it doesn't really go throughout, but at least he did it better. And
Of
it
course,
was
yes.
it was Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, in many ways, part of that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the fact that Quentin Tarantino knew what he was doing,
Sure.
and it was planned.
Yes, of course.
This felt more like,
Oh
Armand
shit,
Kazarian
we don't
was
have
like,
we have
yeah,
to tell things.
We forgot to film that. Or it was a 3-hour cut, and they were like, we can't do that.
Do you really think that there was thought about exposition in this movie?
Oh, I'm guessing this movie probably... My honest guess is this movie was about, at some point in time, an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay.
And Menachem Golan, being Menachem Golan, was like, cut it down to 90, and that's what they eventually did.
I believe that. I would have cut the first 15 minutes.
I actually think so, too. I think just having him wake up on Prison Planet
It would have
been...
It would have upped the quality incredibly. Again, that walking down that hallway of something that doesn't look like a futuristic whatever, I would have loved to just start immediately where he was banished to the planet. And use that voiceover to say, I have just been banished to the prison planet, or whatever.
Absolutely. Well, the one thing that we needed to see was Sheba has this tattoo on her hand, which is obviously the fakest tattoo I've ever seen.
So fake.
But that plays in much, much later, several times over. But
It does.
Then,
You're right.
So as Blaine is walking across the desert, we are introduced to basically the Abbott and Costello of Prison Planet. You've got a fat guy in a fucking...
like 40s gangster suit.
Yes.
He looks like one of the producers.
Yes.
From the producers.
Yes. Then we also have this other guy who's in an outfit that looks like he's in a Michelin Man costume.
Right.
That has been deflated with a feather on top of his head. And we should also mention that Blaine is dressed in all leather as if he's straight out of The Road Warrior, right?
Exactly, like a skin suit type of thing.
Yes. So we've got, 3 different costumes going on. From 3... the costumes in this movie are wild.
Well, and it's evident, I think, at least from my viewing of it, that Prison Planet is actually Earth. And Anakin is the planet that Earthlings traveled to eventually and settled upon. And
that could be
Prison Planet, because the way that people are dressed feels like it is an evolution of different gangs from Earth.
I have a slightly different theory on the way people are dressed the way they are, but I'll get there in a second.
Because they just raided a costume shop from Van Nuys?
Yes.
Okay.
So first of all, I just want to say that what happens is Abbott and Costello steal Blaine's stuff through trickery, and that's the last time we ever see Costello. Costello's never seen again.
Yeah, who was he? Where did he go? What happened?
Who knows? Well, as they're walking away, Abbott calls Costello stupid, and he says, "You keep getting stupider. I don't think I'll need you around anymore."
Wrote that away.
Yep. And
Perfect.
then, out of nowhere, Blaine wakes up and he's like, "Ah, shit, my stuff is stolen."
Dang.
He gets up, he just continues walking, and he finds just a bunch of people surrounding a pit where there are two guys inside the pit fighting for
Scraps, something for
money,
weapons,
food, weapons, whatever. And this is when, to me, the costumes really got wild, because in the pit, there was a guy dressed like a Spanish conquistador, complete with helmet. He was the guy running the fights.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we also have, so we've already established Suitman, Abbott in his, like, three-piece suit.
Yep.
We've got Blaine in his leather everything. The two guys fighting in the pit are dressed as 1980s era wrestlers.
Yep,
in
of
like
course.
spandex and boots. We cut over to what must have been a 10-year-old boy who definitely was wearing his mom's shimmery blue-green, like, dress. And then we have other people who are just in, like, bustiers. There was a woman who was just wearing tights and a t-shirt.
Sure.
I mean, it was...
You do what you can in a post-apocalyptic future, man.
Well, I mean, I guess so, but like, there was also people who were totally in like fur. They were just like in all fur.
Which, can you imagine shooting in some of the outfits, especially Blaine? I feel so bad for Blaine having to shoot in the middle of the desert, unless it was just freezing, unless they were shooting in the middle of...
Nope, they filmed July 15th, 1991 to August 4th, 1991 in Yuma, Arizona and the Mojave Desert.
Fuck.
Yeah,
how were they not sweating more? How was it not just coming down in buckets?
I don't know.
Jesus.
I don't know. At this point, I was like, this movie is just a pastiche of every apocalypse film ever made.
Basically, yeah. So the guys who are fighting, one guy knocks out the other one, so of course they need another fighter. And Conquistador Man, who's the let's get ready to rumble guy.
Yes. TM.
TMCR. Who else would love to come down and fight our guy? Come on, who wants to do it? Oh,
and you'll win a sword.
That's right. He offers a sword, and then he's like, you know what? I'll sweeten the pot. You'll get some water and some food. And then this was the only part of acting in the entirety of the movie. You could tell that this is the one guy who had ever acted in his goddamn life, because he says, "What do I have to offer you? My wife?" And it's something that you would see, not good acting, but it's like something that you would learn from an academy or a...
I'm actually surprised that this movie wasn't
nominated
by the Academy.
Yes, of course.
Oh man,
Lord.
that line was great. And then after he screams, Blaine goes, "I'll fight that guy."
Yeah, I'll do it.
"But I don't want your wife." And I was like, Blaine, bro, then why didn't you talk before he offered his wife?
Right? Why was
like,
it was it the anger?
Makes sense.
Yeah, take the wife. No. And then this begins one of the funniest fights, because he's getting ready, and to start it off, wrestler dude, he does a backflip, but he doesn't land it.
No, he lands it, but like
he
falls
lands
backwards.
it in all fours.
Yes, he doesn't. Yeah, it's incredible.
Oh my god!
And it's also weird because it's definitely like a crane shot from above.
Yeah,
so they were like, we can't redo this. We only have time for the one shot.
Yeah, we got to return it.
We got to return the crane.
Tempe. Yeah. Jesus.
Oh, God. Well, what ends up happening is Blaine accidentally kills the other warrior that he's fighting, who we find out is the brother of this man named Broxton. And Broxton seems to be like the big bad leader of this prison planet. And the old conquistador's like, "Oh no, I can't let Broxton know. I'm gonna be dead if Broxton finds out I got his brother killed."
Sure.
And then immediately, and I don't even remember how this happens, he's face to face with Broxton.
Well, they drag him in something, I don't know.
When Broxton comes out, and the way he looks with that like gigantic Fu Manchu mustache.
Oh my
God. And then like the long, luxurious mullet. Yep. I was in tears. Like, I couldn't stop laughing.
He felt like a cross between Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal. Early 90s, you know?
Yes. Well, that makes sense in many ways.
Indeed.
Because he was a karate guy. Like, he ran a karate place, and that's what he did.
And actually, Michael M. Foley, the guy who plays Broxton, was a fight choreographer and also one of the something called Video Fighter #1 in a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie called Lionheart.
That's one of Jean-Claude's first movies. That's incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
There's another guy in this movie whose real name is Rhino Michaels. I actually have no clue. His character's name is Mayon, but we don't get any characters' names in this movie.
No.
But it's interesting that because he was Steven Seagal's stunt double.
Oh.
In a couple of films. And he also did Demolition Man and Universal Soldier.
Indeed, he did.
Which Universal Soldier is a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. There's a lot of like...
Oh, he was a stunt driver also for Prison Planet.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I think he must have been the secondary bad guy. Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. So Broxton loses his mind and he kills Conquistador by chopping off his head, which made me sad because Conquistador was a great character.
He was the best actor. He was.
Broxton was also one of the greatest actors I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, God.
So we cut back to Blaine, who's sort of just wandering the desert aimlessly.
With his sword.
With his sword that he won. And he sees a pseudo-spaceship shuttlecraft thing arrive.
With the Condor name on it, which does it mean anything? We don't know. Who
knows? But the guy who gets out looks like he's a cross between Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly in the future.
Yep.
With the guys who used to sit you down in your seats when Captain EO was at Disneyland.
Oh, so accurate. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. I worked hard on that one. And he's walking up to this like shack, and out of the shack this woman in blue starts running out, and running after her is the most apocalyptic apocalypse guy you could ever see,
Mohawk Man,
which is a dude with a mohawk and leather, who grabs her and brings her back in. Blaine looks through like binoculars that he somehow got
because that was in his bag of tricks. Who the fuck knows?
Who knows? And he sees on the woman's hand the same tattoo that was on Sheba's hand earlier in the movie.
Convenience!
And he's like, oh, well, I have to save her. Which actually I thought this sort of eventually paid off.
Yeah.
Later on. But at that point I was like, what the fuck? But anyways, long story short, too late. He sneaks around to see what he can do to, like, save her. The Captain EO guy is like, she's a virgin.
I must have her.
I would like to rape her.
To add an even creepier level to the creepy, she's knocked out.
Yes, that's true. It is creep times 100 times another 100. Like, It's just so gross.
Yeah.
So Mohawk Man is like, no, you can't do it. And there's an awfully long conversation about...
It's so long.
Well, you can do it, but don't tell anybody. Okay, well, I'll do it, but not tell anybody. Yeah, because if Broxton finds out, but it'll make her worth less.
It's only
one
time.
Broxton.
And blah, blah. Oh, my
on
God,
and
too much.
So eventually, though...
Yeah, Captain EO takes her into the corner of a cabin that has no walls.
Yes.
And just goes up next to a window, which will become important in a second.
So good.
And he gets ready for the deed.
And he leans his hand on the windowsill. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Blaine pops up and chops the dude's hand off. The dude starts screaming. Mohawk runs around the corner, looks at Captain EO and goes, "What happened to your arm?" Which... I don't know about you. I started fucking laughing so hard. Blaine breaks into the place, beats up Mohawk Man. Mohawk Man goes running.
Captain EO goes running after grabbing his hand and running
grabs
to
his own
ship.
hand off the windowsill. Yeah. Runs to a ship and flies away. Blaine lets there's 3 women in the cabin.
Right.
He lets 2 of them go. And the third one...
the girl in the blue.
The girl in the blue, whose
Right.
name is Kabilia. That's what we find out her name is.
Sure.
Played by Deborah Thompson Duda, who actually went on to produce movies after this.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. He rescues her and he takes her away. Mm-hmm. We cut back to, at this point, Mohawk explaining to Broxton what happened. And Broxton says, "You God-cursing idiot!"
God-cursing idiot. Oh, yeah. That's how that works.
Oh,
in
so
this
good.
world.
And Broxton's basically like, you need to find them.
Oh, and he also says, what did this dude look like? And he's like, I don't know. He was dressed all in leather. And Abbott, he's standing in the corner saying, wait. Did he have like a neckerchief going on?
Does he look like you? Do you
Yeah.
have a scarf around his neck, and is he about your size?
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, he is. And so Broxton realizes that this dude, Blaine, has taken the life of his brother and also taken his merchandise, as they call
Which is
it.
amazing, because the guy who's playing Blaine is average height, average build, and there are more than one people on this planet who has a scarf. But we're not going to get into that.
But
We'll just leave that alone.
Coincidence!
I also don't know how Abbott got there, because Abbott wasn't there, then Abbott was there.
You know what I want to say? I think that he betrayed Conquistador to Broxton.
Is that
I feel like when Conquistador says, "Yeah, how's Broxton gonna find out?" We like smash cut to him being introduced to Broxton as like one of those, "This is never gonna happen, never, ever, 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 ever," and then it happened.
But Abbott was not with Conquistador.
He was in
he
the group.
Oh, that's right.
He was in the group watching
Jesus
the fights.
Christ.
Yeah,
That's right.
this is not the worst shot movie, honestly. Like the inconsistencies in this. No, there are some shitty times where
Yes.
it's really incompetently shot, but the consistency in some of it is not bad.
There's this one shot that was actually speaking, and it's right about this time, because Broxton, after he says, "You God-cursing idiot," you go out and you go find him.
Yes.
This leads to like a 3-minute scene where it's just guys driving around a car looking for Blaine.
Yep.
But there is this one really awesome shot where there's a car driving down just like this dirt road.
Yeah.
And another car, which was either going in reverse or was driving with the camera on the trailer in the back, filming. Both cars stop, a dude gets up on the hood and looks out, and then both cars start moving again after the dude gets off the hood. But it's just there's one part of it that's this really cool shot where they're flying down this just stretch of desert, and the car full of the bad guys, which is the only car we can actually see, whips to the left, like a path on the left, and at the same time, the car with the camera whips to the right. So it's just this really interesting shot where it's like you see the car coming at you head on, you're the same distance. Both cars whip at the same time, turning their different directions.
Sure.
And then the car that has the bad guys is head on, is all of a sudden now we're looking at the back of it as it flies off in the other direction in the desert.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of a cool shot.
Wasn't bad. Yeah. I mean, clearly we had Rhino Michaels as one of the stunt drivers, so he was clearly doing his
thing.
shit.
Well, I gotta say, the cinematography in this could have been worse. There were some. I mean, there were some setups where you were like, "Ooh, that's terrible."
There was a very bad fight near the end, or a gunfight where they broke all of the rules, all of the 180 rules, which made it very confusing.
Yes,
but,
yes,
yeah.
But when it was good, it was really good.
It was fine, yeah.
Because that's a shot that I would love to like. Well, we'll get there.
No, but that is true. As much as it felt like the driving montage of them looking and searching was a little indulgent, but
Sure. And tedious.
And tedious, absolutely. But it felt like they were experimenting with certain things. There's actually a point as well where they skid into the middle of a shot, and it's actually pretty well done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they did it fine.
They
it was
did,
fine.
yes. Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. Well, to consider that
Also,
they probably
the
had...
color scheme does not help this thing. It's very, very sandy.
Well, it's it's the Mojave Desert.
Yes,
and,
yeah.
We also should mention that, like, there is just scenes where you can actually see, like, fences and, like, a broken down school bus in the background.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
But for what they were working with,
Yeah.
there was some cool stuff. At this point, we get to what I've labeled the Campfire Exposition scene.
Yeah.
Where Cabilia is awake and Blaine is sitting there and they're just having a conversation. And this is where we get filled in on every other plot point of the movie that we haven't found out
Thank
yet.
goodness.
Which is that Blaine is there because Sheba used to be on that planet.
Right.
And was sold into the slave trade, which is why she had that tattoo on her hand, which is the same tattoo that Cabilia has.
And it looks like a sticker. Whenever it's on anybody, it looks like a sticker.
It's a sticker. Yeah,
it's like they could afford
terrible.
one.
Yeah.
And so they
well,
just
it's a condor.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I mean, going back to the condor thing that you were talking about earlier.
Oh, shit. There you go. Yeah.
But it's not clear as to why it's called
Connection.
condor or anything like that. But anyways, we find out that Sheba has told Blaine that Himshaw is still alive and on Prison Planet. So he got himself arrested, and that's why he is there.
Yep.
That is what the plan is. He's going to bring Himshaw back to Anakin so he could kill Akira.
You sound like a crazy person.
I do. I feel like a crazy person. That's basically what happens in that scene.
Yeah. So at this point, there is a lot of cat and mouse, basically.
In a way, because what's so weird is it's Mohawk in the car chasing people.
Yeah.
And Blaine sees them, and rather than hides, runs directly towards the road where they're at.
That's right.
So they can just grab him.
Yeah, that was the worst. That was dumb, I would say.
Yes.
That was real dumb of him.
It was really dumb.
It made no sense. But it got to the damn next scene, thank God.
Yes. And I gotta be honest, this led to the greatest line ever in film history.
Oh,
which
let's
is
see.
when Mohawk grabs Blaine, puts a gun to his head, and he goes, "Where's the merchandise? Where are the girls? Where are the girls? If you don't tell me, I'm gonna count to 3. And then 3 will be the last number you ever hear." The last number you ever hear.
The last thing, maybe? The
Sure.
last anything?
Yes, those will be your last words that you'll hear, but nope, it's literally 3 is the last number.
Maybe he was just going to give him specific tinnitus, and it was only going to kick in when he heard numbers. You know?
Yes.
Mohawk is very good at...
Shopping's going to be very terrible for you in the future. Well, that's the point where when he said that, there was a couple of other things shortly after where I was like, wait a second. Does this movie have jokes, or is this movie actually serious about everything? 'Cause
yeah.
the lines really did start to blur at a certain point.
Well, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if this was around the same time, but somebody said the words, "some nasty tortures."
Probably.
Which,
right around
some
here.
nasty tortures?
Yep.
I mean, this really was, like, nobody strayed from the script. Nobody, like, regardless of misspellings or things that just didn't feel right, they were absolutely 100% on these things. Also, I realized at this moment, because they're driving him back, they were focusing really on the car. And it's this broken down, like, old, like, 70s or 80s. It was essentially like an El Camino had been shaved. But I noticed that there was a huge-ass gun in the back, first of all.
Yes.
And the chain gun seat was an office chair. An office chair that was bolted into the car. It was hilarious. I loved that.
There's so much good stuff in this movie of just, like, well... So they eventually bring Blaine back to Broxton, and Broxton's like, "Hey, who are you? What's going on? What's happening? Where are you from?" Like, Broxton's asking all these questions. And Blaine goes, "I'm from Anakin." To then which Broxton goes, "Anakin? Where the hell is Anakin?" And everybody in the scene except for Blaine laughs like it's the funniest thing they've ever heard in their entire lives. It's fucking wild. It is so crazy. I've never seen anything. It's just...
It's like the hyenas from Lion King. It's just like, yeah, sure, of course they're laughing.
But with the hyenas in Lion King, there is a reason to laugh. Like, it comes after a joke. This was not a joke.
Well, you catch as catch can in the desert.
Well, true,
on Prison Planet, there's not that much funny shit going on.
That is true. You got a point.
Yeah.
And this is where Abbott comes forward, and he really starts playing like both sides, where he's like, no, you see, what you got to do is not kill him here. You got to keep him alive, because there's this, that, and the other thing. And at this point, I wrote down, holy shit, Suit Guy is a low-rent John Lovitz.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Yeah, that's the ticket. See, you gotta keep him alive. And Broxton's like, you know what, you're right, we should keep him alive. I'm gonna tie him to a post and put my 2 worst guards on guard duty.
Oh, Abbott suggests also some truth-telling
pills. That's right, the pills.
Where he says,
that
you know what?
Scene was insane.
You know what, I got these pills, but you should only give him 2. And Broxton says, no, fuck your pills. Let's OD him. Let's make him fucking tell uber truth. And he just pours all of the pills into Blaine's mouth. And Blaine starts telling them some truth, but then he passes out.
Well, because he's tripping. And that scene where he's tripping is shot horribly amazingly.
That was clearly Armand Gazarian and Michael M. Foley, the guy who plays Broxton, just being like, you know what? I love you. No, I love you more.
Let's do this.
Let's fucking do this. I also love doing roundhouse kicks. Fuck yeah.
Best. There was also this great moment, because I forgot about the pills, where Broxton loses his mind and starts screaming at Abbott. And Abbott's like, "What are you mad at me for? I told you to give him 2 and you gave him 20. That's why he's OD'd." And Broxton has this look on his face, and I've never, ever, ever seen this in one of these movies before, where the leader does something stupid and is called out for it. Yeah. Usually they're like, "No, it's your fault anyways." Broxton just has a momentary pause. He thinks about it. He gets a look on his face that's like, fuck, he's right. And then he comes back to, "I'm still blaming you. I don't care." Which, that reaction was pure gold.
Excellent. I loved that so much. Also, I gotta mention, Broxton has the craziest of crazy eyes.
Yes.
Like the most bulgingest of eyes that I've ever seen.
He is a revelation, man, in this movie. That guy, Michael M. Foley, is a revelation. He is incredible.
Oh my god.
Michael M. Foley is the only person involved in this movie who is involved in another canon or 21st century films movie, which was Desert Kickboxer.
Desert Kickboxer. Was that shot at the same exact time, using the same exact film?
Yes, the film stock, yeah. It's just pulled over. At this point, Broxton introduces this ticking clock, where he says, "I need to know where my merchandise is in the next 48 hours, so I need Blaine to wake up. Right. Because I've got this big deal, this big drop, that if I don't know where it is, bad things are going to happen." And it turns out the merchandise, of course, is the girls. So Abbott's like, yeah, but he's going to be passed out for like 20 hours because he had unfucked up. So they, at this point, get Broxton tied to a post where there are 2 guards having an argument. One guard is like,
"Man, I would love to go to sleep."
And the other guy's like, "Why are you... No, we're going to piss off Broxton."
Idiot. Have you not been a part of a post-apocalyptic biker gang before?
No,
you fucking don't go to sleep.
I'm just going to sleep. I'm going to go to the truck to sleep. And the dude's even like, "Well, why don't you just sleep here?"
Yeah,
and
right on the ground.
"No, I'm going to the truck to sleep.
It's comfortable."
So he goes off and he sleeps.
And I will say, at this moment, right when he's talking about sleep, I did pass out. And then what woke me up, which was 2 seconds later, was dedicated guard getting shot in the back of the throat with a crossbow. And I was like, hell yeah.
Awesome, because it came out of nowhere.
Yep.
All of a sudden it was just like, thunk, and like blood just starts pouring off of this thing.
Oh, hell yeah.
The camera flips around, and it's Kabilia who's shot him.
Yeah.
This I also love too. She runs over to Blaine, and she basically pulls one rope, and all of the dude's ropes fall. Like, it's not like she has to cut the rope off or anything. It's literally tied the same way you tie your shoelaces, where it's just like one rope,
whoop,
and he's off. They get away. We cut to the next morning, and we see the size of the camp. I thought the camp was going to be huge from the way that scene was shot.
Yep.
From where Blaine was tied up, less than 5 steps away was one tent with all of the other post-apocalyptic biker dudes.
Naturally.
And then about 8 steps in a different direction was Broxton's tent. And about 10 steps in yet a third direction was the truck. I was like, this is crazy, because it looked like he should have been in the middle of a gigantic camp.
Nope. No,
and
not at all.
It was not. I laughed when the reveal of the camp happened. I laughed
It's like
so
6
hard.
tents. It's like smaller than a Boy Scout troop.
Yes.
And there is one guy in a tower, and he looked like a Mexican Kevin from The Office.
You know what he looked like to me was if Oddjob was in a fur vest and fur cuffs.
Yes.
Like...
Still with the hat.
Still
rocking the hat, but
not the bowler,
the
though.
hat. Yes, of course.
A hat.
At this point, the dude who decided to take a nap gets shot in the face.
Yeah, that scene was cool. Actually,
it was
I really
fine.
liked that.
It was fine.
The shooting of it was pretty good. No pun intended. We cut to Blaine and Kabilia coming to this town called Cyprus.
Town is a very generous word.
Yes. It was actually funny because Blaine, the entire movie, was like, where's Cyprus?
Take me to Cyprus.
I expected an actual, like, town.
Like, beautiful, like, yeah.
At least, like, the ruins of a town.
Sure, yeah, okay.
What we get is literally just, like, 10 sticks with sheets tied across them.
Yeah, basically like a yard of laundry.
Yes, that is Cyprus. And they get into Cyprus, and they found out that everybody in Cyprus is dead, including, and I didn't know Kabilia had a brother or family, Kabilia's brother. And she's just holding him, crying and screaming.
My brother. And they dedicate a hell of a lot of time to that moment.
Well, she thought she was winning an award for that.
That moment,
clearly. Because she went for it.
Razzie Award all the way.
Fuck you. No, she should have won the Palme d'Or for acting, which is not an award you can win for acting, but they should have given it to her.
Perfect.
So what is the Palme d'Or, you may ask? Research AJ here. Literally, it means golden palm. It is the ultimate award of the yearly Cannes Film Festival, paying tribute to the coat of arms of the city of Cannes, France, which contains a palm frond. Introduced in 1955, it is one of the most coveted achievements in show business. It's awarded to the director of the best feature film. This award has never been held by a Cannon film, sadly, though it is currently held by a Cannon fodder subject, Bong Joon-ho, for Parasite. Other significant winners include Pulp Fiction, Barton Fink, Taxi Driver, La Dolce Vita, and Apocalypse Now. The physical statue has gone through many changes, but always features a gold-plated palm frond. It's a beauty, and maybe one day our perfect Cannon film will win one. All right, back to the show.
Yes. At this point, too, just there's an old man running.
Wandering.
He's kind of like wandering / running away from the wreckage. And Blaine is like, oh, Himshaw. And runs over to him. And just the dialogue with the two of them returning is incredible, because it's like, Are you Himsha? I'm not Himsha.
That's crazy.
Are you Himsha? I'm not Himsha. You are Himsha. I am Himsha. But everything bad happens when I'm around, so no, I'm not Himsha anymore. We're taking you back to Anakin. Okay, let's go back to Anakin.
Let's go back to Anakin. Let's make clear that this fellow, Jack Wilcox, playing Himshaw, never acted again, or before this.
Well, I mean, he was a Broadway star.
Was he?
AJ.
Was he?
No.
And I have a theory, actually, and this gets dark, but we never see who kills the rest of Cyprus. We don't see that, like, Broxton's people kill a bunch of the people.
It's not even that we don't see it. We're not even told who killed Cyprus.
Ever. So my theory is actually that Himshaw is a crazy-ass motherfucker, and he just got bored of being on this prison planet and destroyed all of Cyprus. And he's secretly this creepy dude that just murdered all of the people around him, and then he, like, says, oh, no, I'm just crazy. I'm an old man. I don't know what's going on.
So that's interesting, because what I was going to say was that Himshaw, the person, Jack Wilcox, who played him...
Yes.
was actually just a vagrant they found in the desert. And that's why he had never been in anything before
and
or
that's
after.
why he had murdered so many people. And
Yes,
they just
this
decided to
makes
run
sense.
with the murder aspect.
So, I don't even know exactly how it happens at this point.
At
but...
that, Mohawk and some of the other guys pull up to Cyprus.
Oh, that's right!
And they kidnap, I want to say...
It's
Kabilia. Yes, yeah. And they don't see Blaine or...
And they also don't see Himshaw.
Blaine is like, shit, I'm just going to sit here for a long time, which they hold on that scene for way too long. And
Yes.
he says, if I could only get back to there, that they took our mode of transportation, so I don't know what the hell we're going to do. And Himshaw pulls out a two-wheeler, as they call it, a motorcycle.
100 years old.
100 years old.
Seen these
that's
before?
again why I feel like that's Earth, like in 2100.
Makes sense. Well, I had the same question of, like, how did they get the cars on this planet?
Right.
Which, I mean, I guess
Who the hell knows?
that's. I mean, I actually really
Mad
like your
Max
theory.
shit, you know?
I really like your theory. It's Planet of the Apes, but
Yes.
it's Prison Planet of the.
Of the idiots.
And
so-
it was Earth all along.
And then he's like, how are we going to power it? And I think it was a joke. I think it was trying to be a joke, but he pulls out like a flask
With this?
with this, and it's what they have been pouring their alcohol out of before in other scenes.
Yes.
So I feel like they're running it on alcohol. I don't know.
That's the thing. Well, they are eco-friendly at this point in time.
Totally.
That's what I mean by, like, does this movie have jokes? Like, it's really hard to tell if this movie has jokes or not.
Mm-hmm.
We cut back to Mohawk bringing Kabilia back to Broxton.
Sure.
And that's when we find out who Broxton is going to meet after 48 hours to give the women to.
Oh.
And it turns out that it's...
Captain
Captain
EO!
EO.
Oh my goodness.
At this point, too, I realized who he reminded me of, which is a low-rent Bill Paxton. And he's got his hand back.
Yeah, right?
And that's who Broxton is selling the girls to, which at this point I was like, wait a second, none of this makes sense because
Oh, why did
if Broxton is selling the girls to Captain EO,
Yeah.
why is Captain EO inspecting the girls with Mohawk, and why hasn't Mohawk just given the girls to him then?
Yeah.
And also, if Captain EO is bringing the girls from this planet to another planet, why does he need to assault Kabilia on Prison Planet? Why couldn't he just do it in the spaceship?
I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, maybe he was trying to get to him before they went to Broxton's camp because maybe he was like, oh, shit, they're going to get to her beforehand.
Oh, that could be.
I
that
don't know.
Might make some sense.
Maybe
but
Broxton wanted to take her virginity. I don't know.
a lot of questions.
You know, yeah,
a lot of questions.
There's this hierarchy, and I don't care
could
about
be.
it because it's creepy.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll just get back to the main element of the story. Blaine knows that there is a meet there.
Yeah.
And that is where the spaceship is at.
Yes.
And if he can get that spaceship, he can get Himshaw back to Anakin.
And I want to talk about, before he gets to Broxton's place, he jumps on that bike, and so does Himshaw. And they ride it across the desert in the weirdest way possible, because
the sexiest way possible.
Blaine has his feet on the footholds of the bike.
Yeah.
And Himshaw, his legs are just sticking out to the side like he's a mannequin of some sort. But also,
he is a mannequin.
At the same time, they are cutting in between the straight-on shot of the motorcycle to this odd, like, it's like a pan up across the motorcycle's wheel and undercarriage and struts, and the cutting back and forth intensifies as if something's going to happen, as if like some part of the bike is going to explode. And nothing happens.
Like it's going to give kids seizures. Like that's how fast the cutting back and forth, like that Pokemon episode.
That's right. And it doesn't pay off. There's absolutely no intensity of the scene or anything that it's affecting. It's just great.
That's what you think.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're right. Did it for you?
Yes.
Did it do it for you?
This definitely did it for me. It definitely did. They do this weird cutting thing. You're absolutely right. We show back up. Well, this is where it pays off, is because we don't have to actually watch them drive across the entire desert.
Thank God.
We're now just there, where Blaine gives Himshaw a gun, goes in to try to steal Kabilia. Himshaw gets found, given to Broxton. Blaine's trying to run away, and Broxton screams, "I got your old fart king!" Which is the best line in cinematic history.
I got your old fart king.
I've got your old fart king.
And that starts this standoff. Before, when Blaine and Kabilia were trying to escape, we find out that Abbott doesn't care. Abbott is like, I'm a businessman. I'm just gonna.
I don't have sides. It's whoever has money.
But Blaine takes Abbott hostage, and he's like, I'm gonna kill your dude if you don't let my dude go.
And Broxton's like, I don't care about him.
I don't give a shit. And everybody starts shooting everybody.
Oh, it's so good because Abbott gets shot in the stomach.
Sure.
A different dude gets shot in the dick.
Yep.
Himshaw starts running to the desert where he is being followed by another guy who is being followed by Kabilia. Kabilia shoots the dude following Himshaw.
Then Broxton shoots Kabilia
in the back.
And then Abbott, for some reason, shoots the dude in the tower.
And then shoots another guy. And just like everyone dies except for
Blaine doesn't get touched.
Well, Blaine and Broxton are sort of rolling in the sheets together, basically. They're just sort of like fighting each other. Finally, everyone's dead except for Himshaw, Broxton, and Blaine. Blaine gets the upper hand and slams a gigantic rock down on Broxton's
on his face.
Jagged rock. Stands up and he's like, "Ugh, we're done." He gets into the ship that Captain EO came down in. Him and Himshaw sit down and they're like, "We're gonna ride off into the sunset together, brother." "Yes, we are, brother." It's
much less exciting than that because
because
Blaine is like, "We're gonna take you back," and Himshaw is like, "That's wonderful. That's fantastic. This
is not a good idea. I murdered a whole village here. I killed everybody in Cyprus.
I guess I should go back to ruling an entire planet. I guess."
"Who are you? Why are you forcing me to say these lines?
Why
in this
are my
spaceship?"
pants full?
Yeah.
And then Blaine remembers, gee whiz, gosh darn it.
I don't have the key to the spaceship.
The key to the fucking spaceship. Oh my God.
He's like, "Well, don't worry. I'll be back in 2 seconds with that key." And of course you know. 2 shakes of
a lamb's tail.
Of course you know.
Broxton still has the goddamn key.
Yes.
For some reason, he went And, at one point during that fight, Captain EO gets shot.
Well, literally everyone.
Literally everyone else.
Literally everyone except for Himshaw, Broxton, and Blaine. They're
Yes.
the only survivors. And this is amazing because Broxton's like, looking for this. Blaine turns around, Broxton's holding the key. We do a close-up of Broxton's face, which, mind you, 4 seconds earlier, had a jagged boulder slammed into it. There is no damage to that man's face.
Not at all.
His face is as perfect as it was from the first shot of the movie.
Beautiful.
Impeccable
Yep.
and gorgeous. Blaine and Broxton get into a fight. Blaine kicks Broxton off of a cliff that is really only like 8 feet high. Broxton lands face first onto a boulder.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Broxton has been just decimated.
Yeah, Then he's flattened.
Yeah. Blaine grabs the key, runs back to the ship, looks at him. Shawnee's like, I got the keys now. And Himshaw's like, I have to pee.
That
No, that didn't
sounds
happen.
great. That's wonderful. Let's go. And this is, again, the ship is another example of the miniatures.
Yes, it's
that
the force
they're
perspective.
using.
Actually, there's one point in the movie where you can see the strings holding that ship up.
Naturally. And they have this shot as if they're shooting out of the front of the ship. And they take off, and then they cut back into the interior, and it's clear that it's still on the ground.
Yes. Also, too, when the ship lands, it's a close-up of what we'll call the foot of the ship landing onto the ground. And when they take off, it's literally just the same footage in reverse.
And then it cuts to black and credits.
Yep.
And it felt more like the end of an episode of something
Yes.
than I have ever felt.
Oh, you know they thought this was going to be the start of a franchise.
Of a series, yes, exactly.
You know they thought this was going to be
Prison
the start
Planet
of a franchise.
2. Aw,
Yeah.
shit.
Prison Planet 2. We're here. How about you?
Back to Anakin.
Back to Anakin.
So, yeah, that's the story.
Yeah, we've kind of there's not a lot known about this movie.
No.
It doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, which is crazy. The one thing that I did find was that in Mexico, it was just simply titled Bad Max instead of Mad Max. And I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but if I already did, I think that just needs to be highlighted.
That's amazing.
Because there is no character named Max in this movie.
No, but it is bad, and it is basically
No, it
Mad
is.
Max.
Okay, so we're at that point. Well, first of all,
Yeah.
I guess, is there anything to steal from this movie?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I think maybe I would steal some of the attention to detail. I just think that they did a fine job of connecting the dots.
Sure.
I think that the story itself was simple enough and straightforward enough that it, everybody was where they were supposed to be. Everybody had a specific working reason to be around.
Yeah.
Like they weren't extraneous. People moved through the movie logically.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I think that this movie probably cost, if I had to guess, this movie cost less than $500,000 to make. Maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
We couldn't find any info on budget, and the movie was released straight to video, so there is no gross worldwide whatsoever.
Right.
But what I would steal is the fact that I felt like every single penny of this movie had to be up on the screen. They went for it, they tried it, they worked hard on it. You can tell that it was made with absolute care and love. Everyone was working their hardest and trying their best. And I gotta be honest, I really liked that one single shot of the cars going in different directions in the desert scene.
Yes.
It just was like a cool shot, and it felt very specific and of the time. So for me, that's the kind of stuff I would steal, is like what I would call is the gumption of making this movie.
Yeah, I gotta say, if you cut out the first 17-ish minutes of the legitimately amateurish
looking
sets. It honestly looks like a person in high school or maybe college trying to shoot a futuristic movie. And that was so disappointing and so upsetting, because even the quality of acting improved when they got to Yuma.
I think so too.
When they got to the prison planet, everybody was sort of in it, and as over the top and crazy as it was, I think that it all made sense at that point.
Sure, absolutely.
But before that, it just felt clunky and weird.
Yeah, well, I think it's basically, we had 3 scenes that were doing the same exact thing, and I also think that, you're right, when they were inside of places, well, this is that whole thing of, like, the desert's free to shoot in. You just drive out to the desert.
Yes, exactly.
And the desert is going to, I don't know how to say this right, but the desert's going to look good kind of no matter what, because it's the fucking desert.
Yeah.
Whereas inside of a building, no matter what, unless you have a lot of money, is going to look like a very cheap inside of a building.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
The people who dress sets and do the art direction are the people who take something that's amateurish and make it look professional.
Sure.
That and color correction. And sound.
Yeah,
those are the 3 things that make a movie look like they are real movies.
True. And when you're out in the desert, that gives you a hell of a lot of art direction already.
Yes, for free.
Yeah,
like,
for
it's
free.
just there.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. So shoot in the desert if you can.
Yeah.
I would have done different setups. I think that this movie could have had some beautiful shots, because they accidented themselves into a couple of really interesting shots. But I think that if they had a better cinematographer, or just some more time, it felt like you said that they shot from July 15th to August 4th. So give
19 days.
Yeah, give them a couple more days, and you might be able to do some interesting establishing shots. And again, it's an hour and a half, so you gotta cram it all in. So get those establishing shots and stuff. Yeah, that's impressive as hell.
It's really impressive.
Yes,
to film this movie, because I would say that this movie didn't feel like it was shot in 19 days.
It doesn't,
except for the gunfight scene at the end. That's the one scene where it felt like they were like, we're doing this in one. We're doing it in one. We got to keep moving. So, AJ, here's the question. Would you recommend this movie?
Oh, man, I don't want to, but I ended up being fine with the movie in the end. I honestly started watching it, and I kept expecting the 3 little figures from Mystery Science Theater 3000 to pop up and say something, because it felt so much like what that would have been. Yes, exactly. And I was like, yeah, this is entertaining enough. There's enough to make fun of as well, so it's absolutely a group goof.
Absolutely. I am actually going to throw this out there.
Sure.
I'm going to go further than you. I think this, for me,
it's a piece of art.
Well, what I was actually going to get at is it probably somehow has found itself in the top 5 incredibly great bad movies I've ever seen of all time.
No.
I had just as much fun watching this as I did when I watched Troll 2 for the first time, when I watched Slithis for the first time, when I watched The Room for the first time. I laughed and laughed and laughed. I appreciated moments. I was interested. I laughed a lot. Some of these lines were comedic gold. Like, I just want to call people God-cursing idiots.
God-cursing idiots.
For the rest of my life. And also...
Dog-ass planet.
Dog-ass planet, and, like, 3 will be the last number you ever hear. Has got to be one of the best lines. And there was stuff like that happened all the time, where it was just like, what is happening in this movie?
Sure.
And it's one of those movies... And I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast before. I love, quote-unquote, bad B movies.
Wait, what?
I know, right? That part I know I've talked about.
Yeah.
The part that I don't know if I've talked about before is there's a difference to me between a bad movie where everybody is trying their hardest to create the best art that they can, and a movie where everyone's showing up for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Not to, like, throw shade at anybody, but... there's a lot of movies, and I always use this actress as the perfect example, I think, of people who show up for a paycheck and they're not trying, like, they don't care. They're just trying to make the money.
Yes.
There are a lot of Jennifer Lopez movies where people show up and you can tell they're there for the paycheck. There's that movie Second Act that she just was in like the last year where it's just so sanitized. Like, you can just tell that everyone's there for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Which I have to throw out, she was incredible in Hustlers.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost makes me even angrier because it's clear that she can act. I've seen her act well in many things.
Interesting.
It's just that she just stopped caring. And she's like, oh, I need a new pool, so I'm going to go, act a new pool. Where this movie didn't feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, in some ways, what did we watch recently? Prison Heat?
Okay.
Sort of felt more like we're trying to make a pool.
Yeah, right.
This felt like people were swinging for the fences as hard as they could.
Well, would you fucking shoot a film in the middle of the summer in Yuma, Arizona if you didn't care about it?
Would I film a film in Yuma, Arizona anyways?
Ever? Yeah.
Ever? No. Sorry, Yuma. I was kidding. It was a joke. Fuck. Get a sense of humor.
Get
this
off
is why everyone
my
hates
back.
you. Hot take. Right
Boom.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually highly, highly, highly recommend this movie. To the point where after watching it, one of the first things I did was to see if it was available anywhere in the world on some sort of like Blu-ray kind of a thing, because it's the kind of movie that I want to buy and put in my collection next to all of the other terrible movies that I love, because I'm worried that this movie will not forever be available to me when I want to show it to people.
Oh, man, you got to watch it like 5 more times and just it's printed indelibly on your brain.
Yes, so I can
think.
tell people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in the end times,
you old fart king.
in the end times, you will sit around that fire and you will tell the story of the prison planet, aka Badlanders.
In my version, it's going to be called Bad Max. Yeah. I'm just going to call it Bad Max.
Excellent. Bad Max.
Bad Max.
Well,
so,
good. Excellent. Well, that's how that went. Well, that's that. And
that is a movie you should see.
I guess so.
I'm telling people, to be clear, if you don't like deliciously bad movies,
you will not
don't
get
watch
much
this.
out of it. No.
You will hate it. But if you are a person who is like me,
yeah,
it's great.
Cool. Great. I'm happy. Did we mention that Broxton was also the stunt coordinator for this?
No, we did not mention
Yeah,
that.
I think that might be why there was so much of Broxton fighting in it.
Oh, his fights were something that happened.
Just constantly kicking. So much kicking.
So much kicking. So much spinning kicking.
Spin kicks.
They were all spin kicks.
Well, I guess we will see you on Anakin.
I will see you on Anakin.
Hey, Nick, what do you think we're going to do next time?
AJ, I think next time
Yeah.
we are going to watch by ourselves, because, the chances of this shit lightening up anytime soon are really... Oh, you meant the movie.
Yeah.
Next time, we are going to go on a little bit of a journey.
All right.
We spent this week in the Badlands, a.k.a. the prison planet.
He is.
Next week, we're going to take a trip on down to Africa.
Oh,
when
fun.
we watch 1990s African Express.
All right. And can people watch that anywhere?
Yeah, that is, as of this recording, available on Amazon Prime for free.
Nice.
Yeah, and don't confuse it with the 1975 movie of the same name,
Right.
which would be African Express.
And that's the one with Jack Palance. You don't want that one.
You don't want Jack Palance. You want the one with Patrick Dolligan,
Mm-hmm.
Karen Mayo Chandler,
Nice.
and Russell Savadier.
Aha.
A canon staple, by the way. He was in Gore 2, Alien from L.A.,
Oh, that's
and
fun.
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Can't wait to see that one.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right. African Express next week.
Next week.
Noise. Well, that sounds fantastic. Where can we follow you, Nicholas?
You can follow me on Twitter at nicholascpappas.com. Maybe one day I will update that. And maybe one day I will update my forever under construction website, nicholascpappas.com.
Nice. Okay. And you can follow me at the AJ Hamilton on Twitter and Instagram. And I have a website, theajhamilton.com. And you can follow us, Creating Canon. That's CANNON at Creating Canon on Twitter and Instagram. And you can email us, creatingcanon@gmail.com. And Nicholas, as we always say in these quarantine times, good night
and good canon.
Are you part of the Badlands?
Are you on the prison planet?
I'm Bad Max.
Hey everybody, I'm Bad Max.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. How about you?
What a good movie. I'm Lucky Charms.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I'll do the Trix Cocoa Puffs mixture. Have we had this conversation?
Every single fucking time? Yeah.
Yeah. Shocking foot.
Hey. Same brain.
Same brain. Sunbrun.
Sunburn.
I also the three E's in freedom.
I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. How about you?
I don't know who half these people are.
As you shouldn't.
You're supposed to feed and eat, clothe him.
Okay, well, that can be what you say. Businessman meetings in my underpants.
Like, oh my god, that was awesome.
This guy's doing good. Badlanders?
Yeah, Badlanders.
Badlanders. Ronnie, here's the key to always keeping her satisfied.
Oh no.
What have you done? I mean, no, we've reached the bottom and tunneled through. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. How about you?
You need to get it together, because right now, you're an amateur, and I'm a fucking professional.
All right, Nick, what's on the agenda for next week?
I don't know, bad accent man.
Rebel warriors have
Rebel
risen...
Wilson? There is no sunshine headed my way.
Not at all.
Because I am in lockdown forever and a day. Hey, I'm ready. How about you?